Well, hello everyone. Here to show you the story coloring right here is like Jaycee Dugard, the story, and what you call is like the year still stands graduation. It is talk about it's like we say is basically about it's like a story. It's like based on in her book. It's like you say it's a stolen life and basically talking about going to college and of course about working on say on the GED. It is. And basically, the idea is I went ahead and drew right here. Of course, is what I went ahead and drew right here is like which calls like for the for the graduate. It is the year still standing. Say year still stands graduate. It is you can have right here is like for the cap and gown right here, and of course right here is for the book is and then for the pine cone charm. It is and anybody but I think about like on their graduation it was is knowing about that with a lot of times with the cap and gowns that they would not have it to where if you wanted to pick a color that you would go by which to say was with the school color. It was a lot of times it was the school color that if it was like which if it was a green or like a maroon type color or a black or pearl or any type of color like that and knowing about that they want to make sure that they got your the size for what the size what cap you wear and then of course with the gown and then knowing about with the tassel and I can remember that whenever I was in school was whenever I was in high school that they asked you if you want to order an extra tassel. It was but in a lot of ways though that with like the tassels it is that they say that with the tassel that a lot of times they say I was able to keep of course the gown and stuff the cap and gown and that they even gave it to where that after graduation it was that they would allow you to where you can actually toss the cap in the air. And I know with me that I didn't toss my cap in the air for whatever reason that I wanted to keep it on my head, and I think it was due to the fact because I'm like, well, if I toss it up in the air, then more likely I can't guarantee that you'll find the same one. It was for whatever reason. Now I'm like, yeah, that I want to keep it on my head. And after graduation it was, and it was like after that after they announced it's like the class of 2004 it was, and knowing about that I'm like, yeah, that I'm gonna go and keep the cap on the top of my head, and just knowing about something to be proud of. It is anybody probably thinking about whenever you go to school it is knowing about a certain amount of years, you say the time of course that you spent of course going to school was. But anyway, right here is so far as talking about the year still stands is talking about right here is that anybody more likely thinking about is like with if we were to have a certain amount of time, a certain amount of hours, you say of class time. It is knowing about right here is you have right here is like go ahead and write in here, and like you say here is using see it is the pink right here, but so far as you say the word or like written is saying green is just so far as diploma. And anybody more likely think about what diploma it is knowing about a lot of times with the diplomas is talking about right here is that with the diplomas you see a lot of times with quite a few but they would have like what you call like the signatures from the principals or whoever that was from the schools. It was the signatures from whoever that was in charge say at that school was, and then knowing about it's like for the the completion say of the grade level was, and knowing about anybody more likely ask me it's like really about how expensive college is. Why do you even want to go? It's like how expensive it is, yada yada yada, and knowing about I probably think about that. Yeah, depending on what your major is, huh? Anybody more likely thinking about that with your major it is. If your major is what you call you want to be a doctor, or you want to work for a clothing store, whichever it is, it's just knowing about that yeah, if you're not quite sure what you want to be, maybe get some ideas for what you want to be, and knowing about if you want to be you say a musician. It is like if you want to play music, and then of course if you want to learn how to read and write, it's like if you want to be a librarian. There may be some people that may think about that after they graduate they want to run a business or being a librarian, work at a library. It is And on the other hand too, knowing about like what you call like the year still stands graduated is graduation, is that knowing about right here is I went and drew right here is like a mascot right here of a cat, and anybody more likely think about what the cat it is using the marker and crayon right here is to go ahead and add like what you call like if the cat were to have like little paws right here, and knowing about kind of reminds me a little bit if you would be getting if you would be getting any type of cake, it's like graduation cake it is, and knowing about the things that more likely that you're talking about besides a crayon it is if you be trying to put on there like a stamp on there, it's like if you were to go ahead and do like what you call like a creative art of knowing about that, go ahead and draw like what you call like maybe a cap and then along with that, say with the cat, it's like knowing about right here with the mascot. And with most diplomas it would not really come with like the cap, but other than that you got right there is for the mascot. And then on the top of the page, which I guess some people may think about is like the gold cover or something like that, is a lot of times it would show the school. Like with my diploma it shows the school, but let's just say if the school were look kind of like this, use like the black marker right here, but if the school were to look like this, anybody are probably thinking about with the school though, is that with most of the time on the diplomas on the top front of the page it would show the school right here. And with the school that knowing about the school that went there or from where you graduate, if it's like a GED or if it's like any other type of a degree it is knowing about that if you have a type of school right here to where if you got a few windows right here, but if you were to have like a school right here and knowing about that this is a school that you're planning on going to maybe in the fall or something like that, or maybe later on in the spring it is. But anyway, just drawing like what you call like a building, but draw a building, and then of course if the building goes around and it's like right here, but you got right there is a school, and anybody are probably thinking about this like how big is that school if it has like a place where there's a museum in the back. Anybody are probably thinking about there's like any type of museum in the back it is, and then knowing about that you have the way I would think that a lot of the schools besides a playground it is not too many of the schools that I went to of course had like what you call like a place like where they had their own source of library or any type of museum it was. And more likely anybody probably thinking about that if they went to a school to where they had like a type of museum it was said related to like what you call like the American Indians or anything like that, but basically that with the diploma a lot of times it would show like what you call like a school kind of like this right here, and then a lot of times it would show it like a gold a gold type page right here. It's like where it's all colored in gold. It's like the school that you went to it was. But I have like a GED. I'm thinking about like with the GED that more likely that you have like a little bit different. It's like it shows like maybe if you went to classes online, or if you had other type of a schooling it was, homeschooling it was, and but other than that we could probably think about that about knowing about the grades of course that we made whenever we were in school was is basically the whole story of talking about with our grades it was, and knowing about that with the diploma it is it's like talk about with the diploma. And like I may have mentioned before about it's like explain on this little line right here the story about that at one time have you ever dropped out of school it is, and like about any type of other degrees experienced in the military or anything like that. And a lot of times the answer could be it's like say no or yeah or something like that. And but on the other hand too, that knowing about it's like so far as your education it is with your skills. And a lot of times that with your skills that anybody probably thinking about it's like for the things that you're good at. What are you good at? And then more likely that if you get a job, and or if you were to think about that you want to run a business or something like that, and like talking about it's like I used to, like I said before, known it for like the smallest handwriting it is, but like what are you good at? What are you good at? And more likely that anybody more thinking about pick a thing at random, and more likely it could be it's like what you call maybe something related to poultry. But other than that, as I'm talking about, is like that you're good at we say you're a good writer. It is. Let's just say writer. And if you are a good writer, it is, and knowing about that if you want to work somewhere where you're operating on a computer, it is, or anything like that, then you probably think about that yeah, type of dream that more like you like to have. It is. Anybody will probably think about you like working with animals. If you want to work at like you say be a veterinarian, it is, be a veterinarian. But anyway, that you have right here is talk about Jaycee Dugard. Guy right here is the calculator. Of course, say besides you say the 10 things that make you happy. It is that knowing about right here. It's like what say with the diploma it is, and the school that you went to. But other than that, is talk about the year still stands. Graduate. The year still stands. Graduation, and thinking about it's like maybe the cake may not last a very long time, but on the other hand too, that knowing about anybody probably think about with the cap. You got the cap and gown, and I can remember that the cake. The cake more likely can maybe look something like this. Got the round. I have a few people I know that graduate. Whenever they graduate, if it's after they get their GED, or if it's like what you call like any type of diploma, it is. And then knowing about you have the candles, and anybody will more likely thinking about if you're going to get them a cake, then how many candles do you think we should use? And more likely if it's one, or if it's like talking about if you want to go ahead and maybe put the year on there. It's like, I don't know, there may be a few people I know that may be graduating by next year, so go ahead and put like, for 15, for 2015 right there. And anybody probably think about with the graduation it is. And it's like we say with the tassel. I tell you about talking about, it's like, yep, you got right here. It's like example right here is like you say of a tassel. It is. Probably more I can think about you got. With the tassel and any photos that more likely that you think that like whenever I was in school, a lot of that stuff I couldn't afford. I know they had quite a bit of that stuff to where you can order the tassels, and of course if you want to order the t-shirts, they allow you to have the order get the t-shirts and stuff like that. But on here too with your diploma, it is you're probably thinking about that with your diploma is looking at this is like what you call is like what you call is for that. For great education it is. For great education, for the amount of time, and effort you say and skills, of course, that you put into you say the amount of schooling that you had is that you had, and that knowing about anybody probably think about is like with the diploma a lot of times that nowadays with the internet, it's like reading the story about you say between true story books it is basically talk about it's like with a stolen life it is. And like I mentioned before about that knowing about in the book is talking about is like for about things that were taken of course from the kidnapped survivor was, and knowing about the skills of course that you're probably thinking about the things that are still there that you still use. It's knowing about you used to like if you knew a real good recipe to how to make chocolate chip cupcakes or anything like that, any type of cupcakes or any type of say rice-a-roni or anything like that. Anybody probably thinking about that any type of food products it is. Keep those recipes in mind. It's like talking about it's like for what's for lunch, what's for dinner or anything like that. But other than that, it's like talking about anybody probably think about with what to say is like for the year still stands, graduation it is knowing about is like even though if we were to graduate in the course, get our diploma, it is knowing about with me though that like with the reading glasses, anybody probably think about bookmark that as well as knowing about so what's next to come. It's like what's the next plan after you graduate, is knowing about what's the next thing, what you're going to do after you finish school. It is. Some people may think about, well, I can now party now. I can party. I can go out and anybody maybe think about that after they turn 21, 22, they want to go out and have a few beers or anything like that. But on the other hand, too, knowing about that, some people may think that they want to go out and buy a house, and some people may think about that they want to run a business or get a full-time job somewhere. But with me though, that mine of course was keeping a job and get my license, of course. It's like the things that mentioned, of course, in the book. It's like talk about, it's like the dreams, for the future. It is knowing about riding in a balloon, and of course, it's like maybe, to be able to see your color, you see the actual color. It's like he's talking about. It's like an actual photo color. It's like if you had your picture taken, especially on graduation, like with my pictures, it is knowing about with me that my picture still looks recognized, of course. And on the other hand too, that I can remember that on my graduation that they want you to hold the diploma. They want you to hold the diploma, in a certain way. It was, I think it was, like this right here. Hold it like a book, just like a book right here. That book that has your name on it, your specific name on it. That with on graduation, that they would call your name, to stand and be recognized. On graduation, it is, and anybody probably thinking about that. If you, more likely either by mail or if they, whichever it is, how they mail you your diploma. It is from after you graduate. It is knowing about the diploma will be in your name, and talking about it's like that. Let's say with the mascot, you say from the school it was, and then knowing about anything else that more likely from the school that they would let you be like a class ring. I know that still got my class ring, of course, from graduation, but like with the other other graduations, it is knowing about that anything that you can keep, and then knowing about with the cap and gown, and anybody more likely think about that with even though it's been over 10 years since you graduated, and it seems like nothing's really changed, nothing's happened, and more likely you're probably thinking about that really it's all in a matter of knowing about. It's like what you call for the agenda, for the plans, is knowing about that for what's next. More likely it's like you work hard enough, as knowing about that anybody probably thinking about. It's like the things that you can do more likely could, what you call improve. It's like for knowing, it's like ideas for the future. It is knowing about that whatever the ideas that come to your mind, knowing about to do our math homework. It is, and any type of homework it is knowing about maybe if you talking about a school with a museum or a computer lab, you say a real big computer lab. It is anything that you thought that you may interest you. It is, but a lot of times anybody can probably think about, you really just don't know really about what you want to do unless maybe if you try it. It is. Anybody probably thinking about that? It's I'm not really good at it. I'm not really good at sports or this and that. But on your hand too, at least try. At least try, and more likely anybody probably thinking about. It's like with the grade. Come home with the grade, and if you still got your grade report, of course, from your senior year, it is knowing about that. Well, grade report was an 82%. Or something like that, like talking about, it was a B plus, or you probably think about, A plus was what I was aiming for, but then I didn't get that far, whichever it was. But anyway, but so far as talking about the year still stands, is knowing about, is like talking about, it's like, between a driver's license and of course, about, seeing, knowing about the truth about your biological family, and then knowing about that's like, how you survived it was, and knowing about, talk about, the year still stands, graduation.